So more progress is being made toward that finalized version of the spinal battery, where today we're focusing on the armor composition that's going to go behind the actual cells. We're going to be shooting these as well to see how the density of the cells along with some very light armor on them is going to help impede the rounds, and we're going to see how the cells along with different types of armor behave with different types of rounds as well. So we have a lot of tests that we're going to be doing here. Now the first thought you might have is, why do I have the cell being exposed? Shouldn't I have it behind the actual armor? Well, the reason that I don't have it back there is because just in case one of these is damaged and begins combustion or starts thermal runaway, I don't want it to be between the armor and myself. I don't want it to be trapped in that space. I want it to be able to off gas away from the panel. And the medium and heavy versions of the armor do have a 7075 aluminum face, which will certainly help deflect a lot of that heat. The heavy panel also has silicon carbide right behind the aluminum panel, so it's going to be extremely good at actually diverting heat and acting as a very effective heat shield. Secondly, these already have some light armor built around them such that they can be protected from some basic, impact strikes, knives, and things like that. Now on to the point of combustion. So these are lithium iron phosphate cells, which I've never actually shot before, so I don't know how well they'll behave under those kinds of stress. But theoretically, these are much less combustible than lithium ion like we're used to seeing. Most devices use lithium ion. I've gone to this route because these are way more robust. So they can have many more charge cycles. They're more resistant to overloading, overcharging. They can run in much colder conditions and are much more resistant to thermal runaway. I believe it's like 400 degrees Fahrenheit before these begin to hit that limit where they might go into that runaway state. Part of this is due to the iron phosphate cathode that's in here, which has very strong covalent bonds, which is much more stable than the cobalt oxide based cathode in a lithium ion. That also ends up having more oxygen off gas, which kind of fuels that runaway combustion that we see with those cells. And then as to the back of these armor panels, I have my impact resistant 3D printed lattice, like you've seen in my last video, where I printed these lattices off the Form 4 machine using Formlab's durable resin. It ended up making incredibly tough lattices, which were able to stop a 22 just by themselves, which is really good for resin, but it's not going to be able to hold up to more serious rounds. So I've decided to make that be my impact pad, because when it fractures, or if it does fracture, it doesn't leave sharp edges like some of these other materials will in these cells. Now before I crank out 6 of these lattices, which takes a while and that's a lot of resin to use, I've got 2 other lattices that I just wanted to throw a couple rounds at just to see how they do. I think that these are probably going to be better for like load-bearing type applications rather than impact resistance. And we're gonna shoot this with the 5.7 with the laminated aluminum front like we did on my other tests. Now, before we start shooting these and my other lattices, as always, don't do this at home. We are doing this with proper safety precautions in place and adhering to local laws. Yep, so back face deformation there, curving on back. Got fracturing, and there's the drill mark. So right in the center, and it didn't penetrate the first one because the back one was there, but you got that real sharp deformation shape, and then this one as well. You can see how much force that lattice is putting on this.
Oh, you can see the imprint. Oh my
and what's
God.
crazy is you can hit this with a hammer, and the hammer
awesome.
won't leave a mark. So it's pretty crazy how much pressure is on this lattice. So we can see similar impact pattern. Sharp deformation. There wasn't as much impression showing up, and you can see split the whole lattice. See, we actually got big fracture lines split into multiple chunks. I think I could probably, no, I can't break that. But bad back face deformation, really shoved it in there, and you can see this ended up penetrating much further in and actually splitting the back. So it was almost on its way out of this part here. So again, you can see a big difference in the lattices with the gradient approach that I showed in my last video being far better than these with backface deformation, fracturing, repeatability, depth of penetration to aluminum, all of that. We've got these Obsidian Fang 5.7. We're gonna bring it up against the dual laminated aluminum with the gradient resin lattice back here. So this has stopped 5.7 and 9mm and all of that, no problem, but we'll see if it actually stops this higher penetrating 5.7 round. All right, it drilled right on through, and if we look, fracture lines, and it bored right through that. Just perfect. Literally just punched a clean hole and exited the back, entered the clay, and it came out the back and it entered into the wood.
Dig
So,
your finger in your car.
oh my God. I know, when I put both hands in it, I wasn't thinking. Yeah, YouTube is dirty. I should stop putting my fingers in there. There it is. I need to get like a tool. As usual, I've added these 2 lattices to my Patreon page, and each one gets 2 different calibers. We need 6 panels. Now, while each panel has a different combination of layers, they all still require a composite backer. And the easiest way to do this is just laminating one single large panel. This way we get a very homogeneous mix and standardized plate that we can then cut the smaller ones out of. It also results in less waste. And then as to the light armor panels, this is all that they are, is they're just the composite with a thin resin lattice behind it acting a little bit as an impact pad. And we're gonna hit this with the Full Metal Jacket 5.7, and then we're gonna hit it with that Obsidian Fang 5.7 round. Going Full Metal Jacket 5.7. So we didn't get any backface deformation, did stop it, and we were getting a little bit of smoke, still are. Seems like it's cooling down though, so it's not going into runaway, which is great. So Rin's trying to mount it again.
It's not working.
That's what he said.
You got this. There you go. Full Metal Jacket again. We're going for the left cell this time.
Nice shot. Damn.
But what's cool is you notice it simmers down after that impact happens. It doesn't just keep going and getting worse and combusting. All right, and when do you guys want to pop this cell off and we can see what's underneath it?
Sure.
Just grab the... All right, yep, don't get the... Oh, look at that. So the cells themselves actually stopped the 5.7, which I'm shocked with. We're switching over to the higher penetrating 5.7 now on the right side here. And again, light armor panel, but this is a brand new one.
It's fizzling.
Yeah. I want to get this close here so we can hear that on the camera. And so it penetrated on the right side there. Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah. So this one did do a lot more damage, clearly. It almost made it through our composite backer, and it ejected a good chunk of the lattice back into the clay. The round didn't penetrate all the way through, but it was very close. And the cells have stopped sizzling. So I got my penetrator round. We're gonna do a second round on the left side. Still got a little bit of smoke, looks like, on that right cell. Okay. Oh, it knocked off one of these rods here.
Yeah, I saw something fly.
Yeah, the rod. Because it went right through the middle.
Yeah.
And so it popped the rod off the center. And we're gonna remove this real quick.
It's literally fizzling.
Oh, but it didn't go as far actually. So this one had a big chunk. Yeah, so the bullet didn't penetrate, but it got really close too.
Is the bullet head still
It went right here. That's the first one. That's the second one. Put this over here. Yeah, so that one went in right here. Right there. Another one right here. Okay, so there's one of the rounds actually, right? That's a whole round, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Much bigger exit hole on this one. You can see a clear path where it came through. This one, interestingly enough, it didn't seem to... So it must have hit something on the way in that slowed it down enough. So surprisingly, the cells themselves pretty much stopped the 5.7 Full Metal Jacket by itself. I mean, these are pretty densely wrapped and they do have a lot of layers in them. Now, the Obsidian Fang did drill through this, but it was stopped in that composite backing. So there's no need for me to test the medium armor panels against 5.7 because I know that that'll be stopped. So we're gonna go directly to the 300 Blackout and the 5.56. Specifically, I have the M855. Also called green tip. Basically, it has a mild steel penetrator on the tip here. If you were to do a cross-sectional cut, you would see that. Now, the medium panels are the same exact build as the light panels, but they do have a 3mm thick hardened aluminum alloy on the surface, which helps blunt the round after it enters through. We've got two 300 Blackout Full Metal Jacket rounds here. We're gonna put these into the medium plate. I'm just gonna hold steady. Ooh, I did a gnarly dent in that aluminum.
Ooh,
Dude.
there's a smoke.
Oh, it fell off.
Yeah. It's a lot more energy. Oh, so it kind of like tunneled sort of in the middle there, between the two.
That bullet exploded on impact.
And it actually didn't dent the aluminum as much as I thought it would. Yeah. It's like Zoolander over there.
You got obliterated, man.
Oh shoot! Yeah, look at that.
is...
Ooh, should breathe that
Yeah.
in.
Wow.
It's good for you.
Yeah, don't breathe. Don't breathe.
He says as he's right in front
I'm
of
not
the
breathing
coffin.
it. I'm literally not breathing it. But got some fracturing in the back there. Pretty good. So this cell pack obviously can't take another round. But let's go ahead and shoot this neat. Let's just shoot this with a 300 blackout. We started to get some delamination here on the aluminum. I'm gonna shoot it just neat with that full metal jacket, and we're gonna compare and contrast how much energy those cells absorbed. Full metal jacket, 300 blackout. Against the neat armor panel, doing it plain to see what we get. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. There we go.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I can't believe how much energy those batteries are taking, right? So after the cells, you can see that the round didn't do much here, but full penetration here with a lot of excess energy. And I'm sure it came out the back. Yeah, it did. We got an exit point. We're doing M855, green tip 556. So it's got that mild steel penetrator. Yeah, that 556 obviously packs the most punch here as far as penetration goes. Yep, so it went through that one. Yeah, so this side is still active. We still see that on, but the other cell's been damaged. Knocks big chunks out. I don't really know where the round went because it didn't continue through the clay. Big back face deformation.
Like the smell of hydrogen fluoride in the morning.
Oh. Yeah, thanks. There we go. Alright, thanks. Yep, don't touch the liquid there. So, insufficient. There's only given one round.
Whoa.
So this is the medium panel. That's where the round entered. Came right out the back. And look at this. Hold on, let me hold on. No, I want to, come on, dude. I wanted to actually show the. Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah, all right, now you can put your fist through there if you wanted to. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's insane. But yeah. So, that's showing what the 556 is able to do
Lord, dude.
after it goes through one of these medium panels.
You're cooked.
So,
That's...
so we gotta be careful. Even with these larger rounds, we're seeing the batteries drastically reduce the remaining energy, which is exactly the hope. Again, we're wanting to use these batteries as actual armor to slow the round down in the off chance you receive a strong impact. It's better the battery than your back. But this configuration is only possible because of the full redundancy provided by the isolation circuits, which I described in a previous video, and thanks to PCBWay's fast service, I've already received the boards and way ahead of schedule. Basically, these will allow these cells or even whole segments to be torn out, short-circuited, doesn't matter, and these panels will continue to provide full power to the other peripherals on this suit. Again, there's going to be multiple of these, and they can work independently from each other, powering the main power rails on the suit, which are also redundant. This was also a chance for me to try some stylized PCBs. This is my first attempt at that by doing a little bit of graphics and some more complex designs with the actual dimensions of the board layout. And PCBWay was able to really get crisp edges on these parts, as well as all the silk screen and masking just looks absolutely immaculate. And now we're on to the heavy panels, which we're using the same calibers, again, that 300 blackout and the 556. But the difference in these panels is that now between that hardened aluminum face and the composite backer is we're sandwiching a thin layer of silicon carbide tiles. Now this build is a little bit more involved because now you've got to surface prep the tiles so that they adhere to the epoxy and then mix up a custom toughened epoxy mix as well. Then I impose a vacuum to vacate all the little air bubbles, and then while it's in that bag, I put it in a custom steel clamp that I made to impose even more pressure on this panel so it's very tightly laminated. Then once it's cured, I drilled a hole in each corner and installed a bolt so that I'm mechanically tying the face to the composite backer. And that mechanical bond is there because under these intense impacts, you get delamination of the epoxies, and the bolts allow a little bit of flex because they can stretch or bend out of shape as these impacts happen, which epoxy won't do. It'll just break its hold and fall apart. We've got the heavy panel, 300 blackout, full metal jacket. We're gonna see how this does. Ooh. Pop the top off. I'm kind of impressed that not one of these is caught on fire yet. So this one grazed the top here. And so it wouldn't have taken a whole lot of energy out of the round, and the round got stopped pretty fast in this heavy panel here. Repeating the same test, full metal jacket, 300 blackout, on the panel that's already been shot. Oh, it must have went weird. So it just went a lot higher. And that's why it came through. Well, because this, the sights are off on some of these this close.
Oh, so it didn't even hit at that time.
No, that's why it's making it challenging, because they also have for 100 yards, and we're trying to do it, a lot closer than that. So.
Well, that's why we have 2 plates.
We're gonna black out again because the first one went too high. So. There we go. That was solid. That was a good impact. So that one hit really hard, and it ejected one of the cells, and that one got really tore up here. So I'm gonna grab by the wire. But again, you can see where the round impacted, it took a lot of the energy out of it. Now I'm just gonna start shooting this plate with the 300 blackout. I'm gonna see how many it can take just by itself.
Oh, yeah. Here again.
So it went 1, 1, 1. Shoved it in there pretty good. So, yeah, no.
Damn.
Nope. The heavy panel actually did great against that 300 blackout, especially when you consider how thin these plates are. And again, we're seeing how well the battery cells are slowing down those rounds, because when it went through the cell, it just left a shallow dent on the surface here, even in close proximity. So both of those impacts were on that same cell, and it was still doing a nice job of slowing it down. Now, these two were just bad shots. I was shooting the other rifle and went back to this one and forgot that I needed to aim an inch low to basically hit where I want to go. So up here, there was no silicon carbide, and it was also unsupported because that's the edge. So that one makes sense why it would have failed. And then the follow-up shot that went right next to it, again, you're shooting something that had already been hit, and the carbide had been shattered from these two shots. So that one's well described. Then when I shot the panel neat, without the cells, the first round went right here, and you can actually see it right on the surface, and it did get stopped. It was the other two rounds that penetrated, which makes total sense. I mean, this whole area would have been weakened from this round, and the carbide would be shattered. Green tip, 5.56 again. Didn't hardly budge. Right there.
Oh, the LED's gone.
Oh, it did a sharp back face right there. Yeah, the LED went out because it went right through the middle there.
Did it exit?
No, it did a really sharp, it almost did though. Almost did.
There you go.
Got that right there.
Nice, so pretty
Yeah,
successful.
I mean, it's quite thin, so.
Yeah.
Okay, green tip again. This is gonna be the second round going into this heavy panel. So right next to the other, hit the other cell.
Did it flip the whole thing around? Oh no.
No, I just went into the right side. So
Oh,
I
I
pull
see.
this back here. Oh yeah, and we got, again, pretty good back face deformation.
Didn't go through though.
But nope, didn't go through. Here. There's those two exits. There's that panel. And I took 2 rounds pretty close together too, so it's pretty good. As to the 5.56 test, both rounds were right on target. They went right and left. But interestingly enough, the first round is what almost made it through. I mean, it's poking right out the back here, despite them hitting similar sections of the cell. I mean, this one was a little bit more away from center mass of that cell, but the silicon carbide would have been completely undamaged, whereas the second round would have been entering into already compromised silicon carbide, which is why it's pretty surprising that it didn't really leave much of a backface deformation even at all here. So I'm almost wondering if the composite itself had something going on in this area that weakened it, or wasn't, perfectly epoxied or something like that led it to be weaker. But regardless, we are looking at something that's probable to stop a 5.56. Now, that being said, no, this backface deformation here is not acceptable, but the second round, that one totally is acceptable for stoppage. I hope that you enjoyed this research. It's definitely a longer video than I usually do, which means a lot of editing on my part, which is the biggest part that I don't enjoy about running a channel. But there was a lot of tests and research to show you, along with proving how stable this battery chemistry is. With the end result being that I will go with the heavy armor panel. However, I'm probably gonna actually do 2 layers of the aluminum and not just one, so that I can get something that's gonna be a lot more reliable at stopping, like a green tip 5.56, for example. The panels on the actual spinal battery, I am going to try to stylize a little bit while making them functional. So they're not gonna be quite as big and square as these. They're likely going to be a little bit narrower, a little bit of a concave shape, which can help strengthen them and resist backface deformation, because that curved shape actually increases the strength against impacts. And there's actually going to be 2 of these cells per panel. So again, it's going to be narrower and wider as we have each, and the isolator chip is going to go in between those 2, with the power rail or the power cord basically going in between, where I'll have more redundancy for if a sword cuts through it or a round goes through it, so the armor can continue supplying power even through that damaged state. So thanks guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, I'm always open to feedback. I'm still obviously a newer YouTuber and trying different editing styles and things like that. And this is where I say the best way to support the channel for free is by just clicking that subscribe button. Or if you don't want to do that, just leaving a comment or a like on the video always helps that algorithm to reach more folks out there and help me be able to continue doing more builds and sharing them with you. So I'll see you in my next video, and until then, I'll be chatting with you in the comments below.